What if I told you that America could take down a world leader in mere hours and seize control of an entire nation just like that? It may sound like a fantasy, but for Donald Trump, it was reality. Hours after the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, was removed from power, Trump sat in his Mar-a-Lago mansion. He watched the operation unfold on a live feed. No hesitation, just raw, powerful action. In his own words, Trump called it amazing work. It was quick, it was violent, and it was exactly what he craved. For Trump, this wasn't just about Venezuela. This was the victory he had long desired, quick, decisive, and without American casualties. But here's the bigger question. What does this mean for the rest of us? Where will this new philosophy of power and force lead? Let's dive deeper. To truly understand what just happened, we need to go beyond the headlines. We need to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. This wasn't just about removing one man from power. This was about reshaping the balance of power in the Western Hemisphere. Under Trump, America has abandoned the old rules of diplomacy. No more long talks. No more waiting for international approval. This is the era of action. And it doesn't stop at Venezuela. Trump's vision stretches far beyond, reaching into the heart of Latin America. Countries like Colombia, Mexico, and Cuba, they all know they're on notice. They've heard Trump's new message loud and clear. America will no longer be questioned. Trump's foreign policy is simple. It's about force. It's about dominance. It's about control. But what does this mean for the world? What happens when one nation takes the lead without regard for anyone else? Let's continue to explore. To understand this shift, we need to look back to the origins of America's role in Latin America. The Monroe Doctrine, it was established in 1823, a cornerstone of U.S. foreign policy. It declared the Western Hemisphere off limits to European powers, and in return, the U.S. promised not to interfere in European affairs. For nearly 2 centuries, this doctrine shaped the U.S. approach to its neighbors. It was about maintaining influence without direct intervention. A balance between dominance and restraint. But Trump, he's rewriting the rules. His version of the Monroe Doctrine, he calls it the Donroe Doctrine. Under Trump, the Monroe Doctrine is no longer about maintaining peace. It's about asserting dominance. It's about using power to push out any potential rivals. This new approach is a break from the past, a break from diplomacy, a break from the careful balance that defined the U.S.'s interactions with Latin America for generations. Now, we need to ask ourselves, what happens when a superpower decides that its influence is absolute? Just when the world thought things were calm, everything changed. A sudden explosion of power, a direct intervention. The removal of Nicolas Maduro, a moment that sent shockwaves through Venezuela, through Latin America, and through the world. In the blink of an eye, Trump turned his words into action. A country of 30 million people, governed for years by a deeply entrenched regime, was suddenly under the control of America. This wasn't just a diplomatic statement. This wasn't a mere shift in policy. This was a bold declaration. America is in charge. And what makes this even more significant? The U.S. did it with no loss of American lives. No prolonged military occupation. Just swift, decisive action. But the real question is, what happens next? What's the cost of such a quick victory? What you see on the surface is just the beginning. Beneath it, there's a deeper mechanism at work. Trump's approach isn't just about raw power. It's about understanding the system. It's about exploiting the very structures that give America its strength. This is a system where resources matter more than anything else, where control over energy, minerals, and markets dictates influence, where countries that have something America wants, like Venezuela's oil or Greenland's rare earths, become prime targets. Think about it. Venezuela sits on the largest proven oil reserves in the world. Greenland is home to mineral resources becoming increasingly valuable due to climate change. These aren't just political maneuvers. This is about access. This is about seizing what's needed to maintain dominance in the global order. And what's more dangerous, the world is watching. Countries are beginning to understand that America will take what it wants, no hesitation, no diplomacy. Now, the question remains, what's next for countries caught in the crossfire of this new system? And just when we thought it couldn't get more intense, it did. Another shockwave, another sudden escalation. This time, it's not just about Venezuela. Trump's reach is expanding. The Donroe Doctrine is taking shape, and it's pushing deeper into the hemisphere. Greenland, a territory rich in resources, strategic location, and power. Trump has set his sights on it, and he's making it clear America is coming for it. This is no longer just about protecting American interests. It's about taking what others have and declaring that no one can stop them. At this point, the world is holding its breath. What will Trump do next? Will he go further? Will the world accept this new vision of dominance? In this new age of power, what happens when a country like the US stops pretending to play by the old rules? But beyond the politics, beyond the power plays, there's something far more significant at stake. The people, what happens when these actions ripple out, touching the lives of millions? The people of Venezuela, now living under a new regime, they are the ones who feel the brunt of this sudden shift. Families, communities, everyday citizens. Their lives are being upended, their futures uncertain. And this isn't just about Venezuela. This is a global reality. Every country that aligns with America's new vision will have to live with the consequences. Those who don't, they risk being caught in the crossfire. This is where the human cost of power is most apparent. When nations operate on the principle of dominance, it's the everyday people who suffer the most. But there's something more. There's a certain level of empathy required to truly understand the impact of these decisions. What does it mean for a child in Caracas or a family in Greenland when the US decides their future is up for grabs? It's time to look at the bigger picture. The cost isn't just political, it's human. The ripples of America's new approach are not contained within its borders. They're spreading across the globe. The world is watching closely. And it's not just Venezuela or Greenland at stake. This is about the future of global power. When the United States steps into a role of unchecked dominance, it creates a new order, a world where other nations are forced to choose, align with America or face the consequences. But what happens when this vision collides with the interests of other powerful nations? Take China, for example. It's already made massive investments in Latin America. Infrastructures, energy projects, and trade agreements. What happens when a nation like China, who's been making moves in America's backyard, suddenly finds itself pushed out? Will this lead to a global realignment, a new Cold War of influence? This is a dangerous game, one where alliances shift at the speed of power. The US, with its economic and military might, is pulling the strings. But the question is, how long can it maintain this level of control without facing resistance? As we look ahead, the question becomes, what does the future hold? Let's consider three possible scenarios. Scenario one, the best case scenario. In this future, America's aggressive actions lead to swift results. The US strengthens its dominance in the Western Hemisphere. Venezuela and other countries fall in line, reaping the benefits of American power. The world adapts to this new reality, a world where America leads unapologetically. It's a tough world, but the US is firmly in control. Scenario two, the middle ground. In this future, America's power is challenged. Other nations, particularly China and Russia, push back. The global order becomes fractured, with countries either aligning with the US or resisting it. This leads to a prolonged period of tension and competition. Power is still in America's hands, but the price of dominance is higher than ever. Scenario three, the worst case scenario. In the darkest future, America's unchecked power leads to instability. The world fractures into spheres of influence where might makes right. And in the chaos, the world drifts back to an age of empires, an era where countries vie for control at any cost. This is a world where war becomes inevitable and the human cost is unimaginable. Which of these futures is most likely? And more importantly, what are we willing to sacrifice to avoid the worst case scenario? We've come a long way, haven't we? From the swift actions in Venezuela to the global ramifications of America's new doctrine. But let's take a moment to reflect on what this all means. Trump's vision of a world where power reigns supreme is already shaping the future. It's a future where alliances are transactional, where force is the primary language of diplomacy, where the old rules no longer apply. And while this might seem like a path to strength and dominance, there's a deep underlying question we must face. At what cost? The world is changing, and it's changing fast. The question isn't just about what Trump will do next. It's about what kind of world we are all willing to live in. One thing is certain: America's future and the future of the world will never be the same. The question is, will we be ready for it?